Hey everyone, today I'm going to be comparing my experiences between my hospital birth that I had with Jack and my home water birth that I had with Sadie. I really want to keep the focus of this video on my personal experience and not so much like a black and white, this is what hospital birth, this is what home birth is. It's really, at least as far as making a recommendation on what you should do, because I don't feel like I can do that. It's really going to depend on what you want to get out of the experience, what resources you have around you as far as, what hospitals you have, what birth center, what midwife or OB care you have, and how far away you are from all that. And also it's going to depend on your means of paying for that. So if you've got state-funded insurance, private insurance, if your care providers even take insurance, there's just so many things that you have to research and weigh the pros and cons of when deciding where you want to give birth and how. Now, with this birth, with my home birth, I knew a big factor in me making this decision was I knew that I wanted a water birth. And my thinking behind that was, I'm going to want something to help me cope with the really intense parts of labor. And all my research told me that warm water and laboring in a tub is really helpful in that aspect. So that's basically why I chose to do it at home, just because there was nothing around me personally in my local area that would allow me to have a water birth. Also, I'm kind of, my personality is that I'm kind of introverted, and I noticed last time when I was being wheeled into triage and being admitted to the hospital and getting checked in, I had this kind of anxiety wash over me. It was just a lot of stimulating stuff going on. There were so many people around, so many people asking me questions. And for my personality type, that was very overwhelming for me. And that kind of, there's this stress hormone released that kind of interferes with your labor, and it can stall your labor. It can make your contractions more painful. And I definitely noticed a pickup in my pain level when I was being admitted, and I think that has a lot to do with it. So that was just my personal experience. It wasn't anything anybody was doing wrong. It was just that kind of busy atmosphere was just overstimulating for me personally. One thing I did appreciate about my hospital and my care providers was that nothing was forced on me. I didn't feel like I was being pressured to start Pitocin or really do any unnecessary interventions. Everything that I pretty much was given, I requested. So I requested, pain relief. They gave me this stuff called Stadol pretty early in the labor. And then later I requested an epidural, and they gave me that. So, I felt like they were pretty much going with what I wanted as the mom, which is a good thing. And not all hospitals are like that, but I was very fortunate in that aspect. They are more hands-on as far as checking you and monitoring you. I had several more dilation checks there. I felt like it was maybe every hour they were checking me. The monitors were attached to me. So had I wanted to do without the epidural and labor walking around and standing up and all that, I don't know how that would have worked with all the stuff attached to me. I felt like my labor was more seen as something to manage in the hospital setting, if that makes sense. Whenever any nurse would ask me how I was doing, they would ask me in terms of how much pain are you in, scale of 1 to 10. And I really wasn't asked that in my home birth. In fact, I specifically requested not to even be asked if I was in pain. I told, and this is just part of the Hypnobabies training that I did. I asked specifically not to be, to have my labor described in terms of pain. And so I feel like the whole process was a little bit more respected and viewed in a positive light in the home environment. I don't know, I just felt like the theme throughout both experiences was that the midwifery care I received was just much more personal. And again, this is not anything against my OB, because as far as OBs go, she was wonderful. And I had great prenatal care. I really liked them as people, and I felt like that they really genuinely cared about the outcome of my birth and my baby and everything. The one thing that I guess I kind of would complain about a little bit was the the lack of circumcision education that I received when I was pregnant with Jack. I feel like they really need to do a better job of providing more well-rounded information out there. At least in my experience, I didn't really ever get information about the other side of it, as far as the pros of keeping a boy intact. This time, my midwife, she gives out a packet full of information on that. And I didn't necessarily need it. It's just something she gives out to every client. But all of my prenatal care for my home birth took place at my house in my living room. And I felt like it was a lot less rushed. Like, my midwife would come and there was no time limit on our appointment. She would just sit and chat with us for as long as we needed. And, you know, she was there to answer our questions and just take care of anything that we needed. And, I know, do you want some milkers? And with my prenatal care with Jack, it was a lot of waiting in a waiting room and meeting with the nurse, and then maybe spending like 10 or 15 minutes with my OB. As far as like prenatal testing goes, I felt like there was a lot more of it with my hospital birth. I remember my first appointment, they had taken, I don't know how many vials of blood, but they took a lot. And just did all these different tests. And I don't even remember what all they tested for now, to be honest with you. But yeah, we really didn't do that with my home birth. We did check my iron at my request. And other than that, I don't think we really did much else. The midwife really emphasized that I, as the mom, have a huge responsibility in taking care of my body and my baby, and playing more of an active role in my prenatal care and my birth. And I guess that's the biggest difference that I could note, is that I felt more ownership over my home birth experience than I did over my hospital birth. I felt like I was more just along for the ride and in the care of everyone else. And this time I felt like, you know, of course I had this assistance of a professional, but at the same time it was up to me to educate myself on, you know, coping techniques with labor, and to put healthy things into my body, and to ask questions when I was worried about something. Like, they really emphasized personal responsibility in a home birth. And that's not to say that, you know, it was my responsibility to like resuscitate my own baby had she needed it. Like, that's what they're there for, to manage emergencies and refer you to higher up care if you need it. But for basic, uncomplicated, healthy pregnancies, you do need to kind of play an active role. At least, I mean, that's my opinion. Like I said, I can't speak for everybody. But so, yeah, I really liked that aspect. And I also really liked that the day I gave birth in my house, I felt like everybody that was there was family. Even though I had my friend Susanna and my midwife there, like, I just genuinely loved and cared about everybody that was there, and I know that they felt the same way. And it didn't feel like, it didn't feel anything like being in a hospital with a bunch of strangers that you're just meeting for the first time. And then, you know, I did form a great bond with my OB during my prenatal care, but it it ended up that she was delivering down the hall next to me, like 6 minutes before I had Jack. She was delivering her son, so clearly she wasn't the one there to catch Jack. I had a different OB who I also loved that caught him. But yeah, it's just like my care providers are people that I hadn't really built a strong relationship with prior to that, and I feel like the midwifery care was just much more personal, and I really enjoyed that. Also, I did notice that, you know, when my midwife would come over for a prenatal visit, she wasn't just getting to know me, she was getting to know my whole family. So, you know, Jack would be very involved in our appointments. He would want to like hold the Doppler or look at her fetoscope or the stethoscope, and, you know, she would let him. She was very good with him. She loves children, clearly, or she wouldn't be doing what she's doing. But like, if he built a block tower and he just wanted to show it to her, she would take time to look at it. And or if one of my dogs wanted a belly rub, she would give him a belly rub. Like, it was just that, you know, those little minute details that you don't really think about, but that in the long run make a big difference. when it came down to the birth in the labor, she was completely hands off, like aside from checking heartbeat every now and then, and really just offering suggestions for positions and opening my pelvis up. She really just let me do my thing and let my body do its thing. And I really appreciated that because, you know, I ended up having a complication-free pregnancy, perfectly healthy, barely any bleeding even after the fact. So there was very little, if anything, about my whole experience that needed much management. And I personally believe that it's healthiest and best for mom and baby in situations like mine where there aren't any complications and it is a healthy pregnancy to just not interfere with it, and the best outcome is going to happen if you just let mom and baby do their thing. So yeah, I don't know if it would have been different had I had Sadie in the hospital. I do have a feeling that I would have probably been encouraged to have Pitocin because of how, I know, honey, because of how spread out my contractions were, especially in the early part of my labor. You know, I was already 6 centimeters and my contractions at times were still like 10 minutes apart. So I think had I been in the hospital, there might have been more of a push to kind of get into a regular pattern. But instead my midwives just let me do my thing. And I so appreciate that because, I don't know, it was just one of the best experiences of my life. It's not to say that, you know, the day I had Jack wasn't special just because it wasn't at home. Like, it was the day that I became a mom and I met him for the first time, and it was clearly very, very special. But I think things can be special in different ways, and I think that, you know, for the stage I was in my life then, as a 23-year-old first-time mom, like, that's what I wanted and needed at the time, and that's what I got. And now, excuse me, as a 27-year-old, you know, kind of second-time mom, and my desires for birth kind of evolved into wanting to have more of an active role, then that's what I got this time. So my home birth was a much more spiritual experience, whereas, you know, I had the epidural last time, and I feel like, you know, the normal progression of hormone releases and endorphins and all those love hormones that normally get released, there was kind of like, you know, an interruption in that process. So comparing natural birth to, you know, medicated birth in and of itself, I think that was the biggest difference for me. And again, I'm not bashing any kind of birth. If you have a hospital birth that you love, you know, more power to you. I'm so happy for you. I hope everybody can have the birth that they want to have. And I'm just happy that I finally got to experience that. So that's really all I wanted to say. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. Derek's going to be doing his impression of the whole experience, both of them, and comparing them in a different video. I wanted to give him his own video to do it, so he wasn't just sitting here and hearing me blab on and then being influenced on my opinion. I just want you guys to hear 100% his take on it. So anyways, I will see you guys later, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.